We're going to go over Total eGolf cash EQs and promotional cash EQs in the Total eGolf back office. How to create a cash EQ, how to create a promotional cash EQ, and then there is some functionality in the back office to build the winnings group and the winnings payout using the cash EQs you built and applying them to contacts and then going to the POS system and ringing that transaction through so that you don't have to do it individually in the POS system. You can set it up, apply it to all the players, and then just go ring through one individual transaction that will apply all those cash EQs or credits to those contacts. So we're going to head to the back office. You'll find your area to build these cash EQs under marketing. So under marketing, you're going to see cash EQ equivalent, virtual and slip, and then a cash equivalent promotional, virtual and slip. When you click on the virtual and slip, you can see there we can edit cash EQs and make new ones. The difference between these two, cash equivalent and cash equivalent promotional, the promotional does not have a dollar value that you would ring through to a tender to it. So these are credits or cash EQs that you're going to apply to a contact at $0. So you could essentially give $5 credits and write them off to a promotional GL code. So this is what we used to transfer existing credits over, and cash equivalent non-promotional is what we'll use moving forward to distribute cash equivalents and credits to customers with a tender type, so cash, or if the tournament's paying for this on account, or a men's club has $500 on account and they want to spend that to give credit from a tournament to certain contacts. Both of them are set up exactly the same. It's just one is a promotional to a GL code, and this cash equivalent is what you can sell to a tender type. So I will set one up in cash equivalent. It is duplicated the exact same way in promotional. So we're going to go to cash equivalent, virtual, and new. This first screen that pops up is essentially the wizard that will walk you through building the cash equivalent. If you see in this bottom right hand corner, you have back, next, cancel. That's how we move through the wizard page by page. So we're going to start out and call this test cash EQ, and you can name this whatever you'd like. You could name it credits, and then the description could be, the impossible open for your men's club, right? This will allow Pro Shop user-defined value. That's if you want the cash equivalents to be from 0 to a certain dollar value, so that you can distribute them with any dollar amount between 0 and what number we enter here. If we were to not check that and use a fixed value, this would mean that every single cash equivalent is going to be fixed to that value. So you'd have $5, you couldn't edit it. So for this instance, since it's a tournament, we're going to have a payout of different values. I'm going to allow Pro Shop user-defined value, and let's put the max at, let's say, $250. Require manager card ID. If you only want managers to be able to distribute these, this is where you would check that. Otherwise, any of your users would be able to ring through a cash EQ. Allow discount. This button is going to allow you to discount the cash EQ. For this instance, we will keep that unchecked. If you would like it to expire, you can check off of the None button and add a date of expiration. And then act as a gift card. We would leave that unchecked. We're going to use these as cash EQs. Next, redeemable on. That's what you want the cash EQ to be available to use for. So if it's available for golf and cart, you'd be able to check those. If you only wanted it for certain items, we're going to check here, and further on in the wizard you'll be able to select those items. Same thing for classes. If you want it to be available for classes, further on in the wizard we'll be able to select those classes. Be aware that if you do select items and you were to issue these cache EQs and then later on create new items in your system, you would not be able to go back and edit the cache EQ to add items. You could go back and when you create the item, if it is applied to a class that we selected, it would fall under this cache EQ. But any new items that aren't selected you would not be able to purchase them with this particular cache EQ if you made them after the fact. So I like to use the classes button rather than selecting individual items on in bulk. Promo liability count. This is if it. This is the code that we'll be using to assign to this cache EQ. Alright, and then we have two buttons here: as individual tender, show signature line on payment. If you want them to sign for this, we would check here, and then we can just leave this individual tender alone. From there, we're going to hit the next button. It's going to take you to that classes area. So if you were to check items here, I'll go back real quick and hit next. You'll see all your individual items, and it starts with Pro Shop and moves when you hit next to food and beverage. So if you wanted to select individual items, that's where you would do it. And I'm just going to double check real quick that that's the correct account. Okay, so I had the incorrect account. I was just coming back to check it. So we're going to put this 2470000, and then this is obviously your location code, so that will differ property to property. But I just came into an old cache EQ to confirm that was the correct liability account. I had it mistaken with the expense account here. So we're going to change this to that correct account. And there it is, member accounts AR is what we want to put into this promo liability account. Once again, we're going to select classes, hit next. For this case, a men's club event is good for merchandise only, so I'm going to select merchandise class. And these arrows over here will move it over into the selected classes. So if you wanted it to be available for driving range or packaged food in your pro shop, you would just select those individual classes and move them over. Obviously, if you want it good for any of your items, select all the classes and move them over to the right here. In this instance, we're only using it for merchandise, so I'm going to hit next. It'll move us to our food and beverage items. We do allow at Riverside the cache EQs to be used for food and beverage. So you can hold down Shift and arrow down, and it'll highlight each item. That way you don't have to click on every single one. So that once again, that's hold down Shift, highlight all the items, click over, and that's going to move all our food and beverage items over to the right. Obviously, if your cache EQ is not good for food and beverage, you can just skip this step and hit next. And that brings us to our last page. We can preview this cache EQ with this button here. It's essentially just going to bring up a report showing you exactly the information we've gone through so far. Once you've previewed that, you can check confirmed. This batch ID is going to auto-populate. They start with 1,000 and go up, so I'm obviously on the third cache EQ I've created. The skip batch creation, we don't want to check that. That's if you just wanted to do the work in the back and not actually create it and then come back to it and create it later. Batch description, once again, I'm just going to repeat what we put in earlier: impossible open payout. And then how many would you like to generate at this time? Let's say that there were 20 people that were going to win. Obviously you don't want to underestimate this area. I would always shoot high, so if you need more of them in the future for impossible open payout. But in this instance, we're going to say there's 20 people getting paid, or 20 of these cash EQs available. This fine print is just to be able to put a note on the receipt, so you could put print on sale and type in here, congrats, impossible open, something like that, if you wanted to print something on the receipt. Otherwise, you could leave it blank and not check any of these boxes. And then we're going to move down, hit finish. You'll see this prompt, cash equivalent template has been saved. Click OK to continue generating batch. We hit OK, and you should get this completed successfully. So if we were to go back into that area, marketing, cash equivalent, virtual, and edit, you'll see the current ones that you have edited. There's the one we just made for the impossible open. And then up here in the top we just have a little area that says templates this color have certificates which have already been activated. Editing has been disabled. Select these templates to create new batches only. So I haven't issued any for these three, but once you do, they're going to turn this yellow color, and then you cannot edit them anymore. And that's why I spoke of choosing the right classes to put in there, because once you issue it, you can't go back and change the items that are available. You'd have to start over and create a new cash equivalent. Just to reiterate there, that's the exact same process or the exact same wizard when creating a promotional cash EQ. The only difference is that this is going to be charged to an expense account on your GL, or it's going to be charged to a GL code, so you could issue credit for some of your core customers and charge it to your promo account. So once you have that cash equivalent up, as I spoke of earlier, in the back office, you can distribute the payout, or you can distribute on the point of sale. So I'm going to go through how in the back office to create these winnings groups and winnings payouts. So we go back to the back office under Setup. Under Events, at the bottom, we have Winnings Payout. And this is where we'll actually do the payout. Prior to that, we need to go to Setup. Let me just find this real quick. Okay, Setup, Events, and Winnings is where we're going to start. Sorry about that. So Setup, I'm going to close this out and go back in. Setup, Events, and Winnings is going to be our first start to paying out the cash equivalent we just made to our contacts. Once we get in here under Winnings Groups, we're going to label this Impossible Open, because this is our Impossible Open payout. You're going to have to hit Tab, go down to the description, and once again you can call it Impossible Open Payout, or whatever description you'd like to name it for the cash equivalent you just made. After you have the name and the description made, go over to Default Cash EQ. You're going to see all those cash EQs that you've created in history, and we've seen the one that we just made, Impossible Open, for the men's club. And then down below we have all of our contacts in our system. So this is just your contacts that are in your system. You would have to then go through here. You can search by name, last name, first name. And what you would want to do is find, when you have the results of your event, you would find those 20 people and drag them across. So we're going to drag across a few people here who won credit or cash EQ. And I'll just scroll down and grab about 10 more. So once you have this populated with the 10 or 20 people or however many people won cash equivalent or credit in the event, you would populate them all over here. We're going to hit Save. you get this little prompt saying saved, and now we have a winnings group populated with these people in it. At that time, you're going to go to events and winnings payout. So just to reiterate, that first one is set up events and winnings. This is where you're going to select the customers that won credit or cash EQ. And then events and winnings payout is where we're going to distribute it. So at that time, we're going to go to payout name, and we're going to type in there just so you know, this magnifying glasses, if you had once you have different payouts. I don't have any in there right now that are saved, but you could have multiple ones in here once you start making them. So this payout name, once again, I'm going to call it Impossible Open. Hit tab. Under winnings group, we're going to see the one we just created, and you may have a list of these after you start creating more of them. So we're going to select that Impossible Open, and then right down here in the bottom, it's going to say hit save to see list of players. So once we hit save, prior to hitting save, we need to put in the total distribution amount. So if the payout for those 10 players was $400 total dollars for distributed around the 10 players, we need to enter that first and then hit save. And we're going to see those 10 people from the winnings group that we pulled over populate. And on the far right, under amount, is where we're going to be able to enter in the payout. So if Matt Jones took first and won $100, we would enter it there. If Michael Jones won $80, we'd be able to enter it there. And we can just distribute the entire payout. And you'll see while I'm doing that, in the top blue boxes, the amount distributed and the amount remaining totals for you. And it won't allow you to save this until this amount distributed is equal to the total distribution amount. So if you entered this incorrectly and you need more funds, just up it or increase it or decrease it. So for this instance, we'll keep it at 400. So we've given out 340 already. We have 60 left. So I'm going to distribute another $60. And once you have this payout correct, you'll see that box turns green. This max value is when we made the cash EQ. It just means that the most we could distribute to one person would be $250. Once you've confirmed all that looks correct, you hit save. That payout is saved. I'm going to close these and go back in there. So setup, events, winnings was where we created the group, and then events and winnings payout. Like I spoke of earlier, we can hit this magnifying glass. There's the one we just saved. Double click it, and there's the information. Important thing is this has not yet distributed these funds to the actual contact. The last step is to go into the POS system on your order screen and go to the button that says More, and there is a button called Winnings Payout. When you click that, you will see this winnings payout in there, and then you would need to run it through or tender it accordingly, whether it's on account to an account balance, if the tournament is paying cash, or if they're paying credit or check. So that is the final step in the process, is going to the order screen once again, clicking More, and then clicking Winnings Payout and tendering it accordingly. So that is cash EQs and promotional cash EQs and how to create a winnings group and a winnings payout. If you have any questions regarding that, please feel free to call me or email me. The information is right there.